Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little tutorial on how I contour and highlight using my Australis AC on Tour palette. I'm going to do a really simple tutorial, very basic, just doing contouring with the kit, and so obviously it's just going to be powder contour, and then a bit of bronzer, and then a blush and highlight. Anybody really can do this. I'm also going to use kind of like brushes that a lot of people own rather than, I guess, like more specific individualized brushes for contouring and highlighting, because honestly you don't need them. You also don't actually need this palette if you want to contour and highlight. This is a good one to pick up from Priceline. It's only like $16, but you can also just get a little individual contour color and a little individual highlight color. Max Harmony is really good, and Face of Australia and Essence also have kind of like cool toned brownish blushes that you can use as well. But I'm going to use the kit for today. So it looks like this. It comes with 6 colors. It's very similar to the Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, but because this one is drugstore, you have to be a little bit more careful when you're applying them. If you take too much product, they will look muddy. These contour and kind of bronzy shades, they will just look like you have put dirt on your face if you take too much product. So part of the tutorial that I'm not going to go through today is using these 2 matte colors, this banana shade and this pink shade. I use these to set my under eye concealer, but I'm not putting that in the tutorial. I'm just going to be using this shimmery shade, this contour shade, and this bronzer. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take one of these angled contour brushes. I never used to know that these were for contouring. I thought they were for blush. So I've always just used them for blush, but this is the large angled contour brush from Sigma. It's a fine brush. Plenty of brands do a brush like this, so don't think that you have to go out and buy the Sigma one, but it gets the job done. So what I'm going to do is focus on putting the product in this section here when I go to put it on my face, and then these top bristles up here will blend it out and up. To find the line that I'm going to contour, I just am going to take my brush and put it from the top of my cheek to the bottom of my mouth, and you can kind of like roll it up and down and feel where your cheekbone starts and ends, I guess. So like you can feel a distinct bump where your cheekbone goes up, and in the bit as soon as it goes down, that's where you want to contour. So for most people, it is pretty much a line from the top of the ear to the corner of the mouth. Mine actually comes a little bit like down below my mouth, so that's where I contour. You can also suck in your cheeks like this, but it really kind of emphasizes this part, and we want to contour much more back here to make our face look slimmer, but not as noticeably. So because these powders are a little bit powdery, they're still great, but I am only going to take a tiny bit. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to dip it into my color one time, and not a dip, like lightly dip. So I'm just going to poke it in there once. And that is all of the product that I'm going to put on my brush for now. I'm then going to tap off the excess so we don't just have powder flying everywhere. And I kind of like to semi-suck in my cheeks. I go like this, rather than like this. But just like, I don't know, I don't know, it's weird. But I pull back my hair on the side, and I want to place most of the color closest to my hairline, so that's where I'm going to start. Anywhere that you place the brush first is where the most color is going to be. So because I don't want like a blob of brown like in the middle of my cheeks, I'm going to start down near the hairline. Alright, once I've placed that first bit of color, I'm then just going to drag it down my face a little bit. And I'm going to stop kind of like halfway between, so I'm not going to bring any color into this section of my face at all. I'm not concentrating on blending it up yet, I'm just concentrating on trying to get some color on there. Okay, so once I put that tiny bit of product on, if I look straight ahead, you can see that this side of my face kind of looks a little bit more chiseled, a little bit more like I've got a cheek hollow, and that is what we want. So once the color is on there, I'm then going to not put any more product on my brush and just blend it up. I don't want to blend it up into my eyeball. I just want to kind of blend it up towards the side of my eyebrow. Now, because we only used a tiny bit of product, this shouldn't be too hard to blend. I'm going to take another bit of that product. It can go on any part of the brush really, but just another really, really light dip. Tap off the excess, and I'm going to put that up here on my forehead. If you have a big forehead, then you might want to like heavily contour here, and up the top. I have a miniature forehead, so I don't like to do too much contouring there, but I do like to do a little bit because otherwise it looks a little bit out of place just on your cheeks. So I just put it there for a little bit of color. You kind of want to make like a C on your face here. All right, once that's on, we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side. And there we go, that's all I'm going to do for contouring. If you want something a bit more dramatic, of course, go in and carve it out even more. You might want to take a smaller brush and just like really get in there. But for me, this is pretty good. And if I start to put on more, it just kind of starts to look a bit dirty, and that is not what I want. So next I'm going to go in and bronze up the face a little, just because the contour is so cool. Sometimes if I leave it just that, I look a little bit dead. So I'm going to take a big fluffy brush. This is the Real Techniques powder brush. I really like this brush for bronzer, and I'm going to take this bronze shade here. Again, I'm going to take the tiniest amount of product. So I'm just going to go like this, bing, in my, what's it called, a palette, tap off the excess, and I'm going to put this just kind of all over the cheeks and onto that contour on the top as well. This one's fairly simple. I really like how this brush blends out though, it's so nice. And that is the bronzing done. I don't like to do too much because I'm pretty pale, but I like to have a little bit. Next I'm going to go in for highlight. I like to do highlight before blush because I tend to go a little crazy with the highlight, and then the blush helps me blend it out. So I'm going to take this little Sigma brush. It is the Tapered Blending E40 brush, and it's just like a really fluffy brush. You can use literally anything. Like you could use this contour brush again if you wanted to, but I'm going to use this little one because it's a little bit more precise, and because I have a very small face, I don't like my contour. I don't like my highlight to be just like friggin' everywhere all over me. So all I'm going to do is take this shimmery shade on my brush. I'm going to dunk this one in a few times because I don't really mind if this one's more intense, because I love me an intense highlight. And I'm going to go on the top of my cheekbone. So that is about here. Again, you can kind of feel it. Like, I don't know, I put mine on kind of like where my eye socket starts. So I don't know if that's normal, but that's what I do. And I like to keep it fairly up here, but sometimes it comes down onto my cheek. It's going to be a very intense highlight if you get it like down here. So it is better to kind of keep it up here because the highlight is kind of where the attention gets drawn. So we want our cheeks to look high, so we want our attention to be drawn to the highest point. So all I'm going to do, really simple, is just kind of brush that on there. I actually really like the highlight color in this kit. I didn't love it at first, but now I'm sold. Like, I'm using it every day lately. Look how glowy. Oh, pretty. See, I like an intense highlight. But you can also see I've brought it down kind of a little bit too much, which is why I do highlight before blush. Because now we're going to go in with our blush and fix that up. So I'm just going to take that exact same contour brush that I used, and I'm going to take MAC Peaches. Obviously you can use any blush that you want. I'm just going to dunk that in a few times and then chuck that on the apples of my cheeks. I am also going to blend it back into the contour and the bronzer a little bit, but I don't want like a lot of color to be back there. I want the most color to be on the apples of my cheeks, so that's where I'm going for first. Alright guys, that is the contouring and highlighting done. It's very easy. Once you get used to it, you'll be able to do it so fast. I just recommend that if you're using the Australis kit, which I love, use a tiny bit of product at a time. Like, I only dunk my brush in literally once for my cheek contour. Like, it's it's just so pigmented, and because it is a little powdery, it can get everywhere. So use a tiny bit. But as you can see here on my cheeks, looks much more kind of defined and sucked in and skinny than it did at the start of the video. And then we have a pretty highlight on the top of the cheekbones, which just makes us look all dewy and lovely. You can put highlight in other places as well, but I'm oily, so I don't really like to do that because it just kind of intensifies the oiliness of my face. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and if you are, then thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!